Hello, dear students. I'm Dr. Ruidas Nitonde, Associate Professor of English at the Postgraduate Department of English, Marathwada Shikshan Prasarak Mandal, Sri Shivaji College, Parvani. In this video series, we'll be discussing some of the important poems in English. For today's video, I have selected William Blake's famous poem, Another Sorrow. Let us learn the poem. This video is divided into certain parts. First is about William Blake. Second part is about the poem Another Sorrow. Then we will have the text of the poem in the third part. Fourth part is glossary used by the poet in this poem. The next part is gives us stanza-wise summary of the poem. And finally, we will sum up or revise the poem and have some study questions. As you know, William Blake is a famous romantic poet who lived between 1757 and 1827. He was an English poet, painter, and engraver. He is also considered as the first romantic poet. He is a religious poet as well as a prophetic poet. His best works are poetical sketches, songs of innocence, songs of experience, and Jerusalem. Let us look at the poem. The central theme of this famous poem is sympathy and the future of mankind. In this poem, poet is talking about personal pain and suffering. Here, poet is using images of parents and children. Here is one more thing, that is God's ways with us. The poem is divided into 4 line, 9 stanzas. The rhyming scheme of each stanza is AABB. Let us look at the poem. The first stanza reads like this. Can I see another's woo and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? Can I see a falling tear and not feel my sorrow share? Can a father see his child weep, not be with sorrow filled? Can a mother sit and hear an infant groan, an infant fear? No, no, never can it be, never, never can it be. And can he who smiles on all hear the wren with sorrows small? Hear the small bird's grief and care, hear the woes that infants bear, and not sit beside the nest, pouring pity in their breasts, and not sit in the cradle near, weeping tear on infant's tear, and not sit both night and day, wiping all our tears away. Oh no, never can it be, never, never can it be. He doth give his joy to all. He becomes an infant small, he becomes a man of woe, he doth feel the sorrow too. Think not thou canst sigh a sigh, and thy Maker is not by. Think not thou canst weep a tear, and thy Maker is not near. Oh, he gives us his joy, that our grief he may destroy, till our grief is fled and gone, he doth sit by us and mourn. Now, we will look at the important words that are used by William Blake in this poem. The first one is oo. Oo means great sorrow or distress. Seek means an attempt to find. Wren is a small short-winged songbird. Cradle is an infant's bed or crib that can be rocked to soothe the bird. Doth is an archaic third-person singular present of do. And canst is again an archaic second-person singular present of can. Let us see the stanza-wise summary of each of the stanzas. This is the first stanza of the poem, and here we will find that how the poet begins the poem very, very effectively. In this stanza, poet talks about another's sorrow. He says that when he looks at the sorrow and sufferings of other people, what happens to us? He feels sad and sympathetic. Here, poet finds a relief from his own grief, and that's why he says, "Can I see another's woe and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief?" This is how we seek relief. We get relief when we see someone else in the sorrow. Next, second stanza. As the stanza reads, "Can I see a falling tear and not feel my sorrow share? Can a father see his child weep, nor be with sorrow filled?" This stanza raises a rhetorical question wherein poet says that it is automatic. It happens without knowing to ourselves within us that when we see somebody in sorrow, we feel. And for that, poet is giving an example of the falling tear in someone's eye, and poet himself shares it. The imagery of child and father is also very much uh, effective. Poet says that when a father sees the child is weeping, then automatically or naturally, all of a sudden, father's eyes also get filled with tears. The third stanza: "Can a mother sit and hear an infant grow, an infant fear? No, no, never can it be, never, never can it be." Thus, in the third stanza, poet tells us about a mother's situation when she finds her child or an infant in a fearful or pathetic situation. Poet says that it is not possible, never can it be, that a mother can sit and hear just an infant groan. So, whether it is father, mother, or poet himself, when these people come across the pains and sufferings of others, they are moved by it, and naturally they feel sorrowful for the another's sorrow. Now let's move to the fourth stanza of the poem. And he and can he who smiles on all hear the wren with sorrows small, hear the small bird's grief and care, hear the ooze that infants bear? Now in the fourth stanza, poet has made this poem religious. In the previous three stanzas, poet was giving about the personal experiences. First, he began in the first stanza with his own experience. In the second stanza, he talked about the father. In the third stanza, he talked about the mother. But in the fourth stanza, he is talking about the universal father. He is referring to the God himself. And he says that when God sees a bird, wren, and hears bird's grief, he bears the grief and sorrow of the small bird. Now let's move to the stanza 5. And not sit beside the nest, pouring pity in their breast, and not sit the cradle near, weeping tear on infant's tear. Oh, again here is a rhetorical question. Poet says that it is not that God is not pitiful with the small bird. The God is there always to care the bird as well as the baby in the cradle. Though we can't see, but He is there with them. The sixth stanza says that, and not sit both night and day, wiping all our tears away. Oh no, never can it be, never, never can it be. Again, in this sixth stanza, we find that poet is saying that It is not that for the one time or one moment or for some time that God is there to take care. Rather, William Blake says that God is there with mankind and all the universe and living beings, creatures made by God, all the time, night and day, 24 by 7. And that is why the sixth stanza concludes, "Oh no, never can it be, never, never can it be." Can it be means the God is not there. That means God is there with us all the time, always. Let's move to the seventh stanza. It reads, "He doth give his joy to all. He becomes an infant small. He becomes a man of woe. He doth feel the sorrow too." In this stanza, poet is referring to God. He says God gives his joy to all, and for that, even if needed, he becomes a small infant. He becomes the man who suffers, and he feels the sorrow too. Here, poet is indirectly referring to the emotion called empathy. He says that it is not enough to be sympathetic with someone, but rather one must feel the sorrow too, and that is called empathy. God is both sympathetic as well as empathetic with his creatures. The its stanza reads, "Think not thou canst sigh a sigh, and thy Maker is not by. Think not thou canst weep a tear, and thy Maker is not near." This is a gentle advice given by William Blake to all his fellow people. He says that you should never have an idea in your mind that the God is not with you. He says that you never think that you can't remain okay or happy because just God is not near you. He says that God is always there with you in all your pains, pangs, sufferings, and sorrows. Thy Maker is always near you. The last and ninth concluding stanza reads, "Oh, he gives to us his joy, that our grief he may destroy. Till our grief is fled and gone, he doth sit by us and mourn." And in this way, in the ninth stanza, he says that God is not only there with us during our misery and sorrow, rather he is there till your grief is fled and gone. He is there until he destroys your sorrows. He simply sits by us and keeps mourning. He is to remove our sufferings and make us happy. He gives us joy. Thus, in all the nine stanzas, poet is trying to make us sure that the God is always with us, however greater misery we are going through. Let us see the conclusion. The present poem is full of poet's justification to God's ways of removing our fear and helping people when they are suffering and weeping. Blake further asks us to trust God and be confident. An important thing is sympathy is good, but being empathetic with the others is even better. So we should care each other and believe in God. That is the takeaway message from William Blake's famous poem, Another's Sorrow. Can we have some study questions to revise our ideas? Here is the list of questions. Dear students, read the poem carefully, try to understand it, and watch this video once more to be able to answer these questions. If you get time and solve these questions, it will be better for your comprehension. I'm sure that you would enjoy learning with this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you and enjoy e-learning.